In today's video, we're going to be talking about lighting or different lighting techniques that you can use as a cinematographer. So I've been making narrative films for the past 2 years. The first year I was just learning from YouTube and by myself, and I found a lot of challenges because I had 2 panel lights, and the way that we used to light back in the day was we just place a light and be like, all right, this person needs light because I saw it on set. And then last year I ended up going to film school just to learn lighting. For me, I was there primarily for cinematography. I wasn't really interested in anything else, but the more you learn more about film, the more you start to realize everything is integrated. You know, when it comes to lights, why I feel lighting is probably the most important aspect of film is because no matter how much of a beautiful set that you have in terms of production design, costumes and all that stuff, if there's no proper lighting, no one sees it. You know, you can have the best lenses on this planet. If there's no proper lighting, people cannot enjoy your film. And whilst different cameras have different characteristics, you know, when you watch movies made by the Arri Alexa, the sensor is crazy. It does all these amazing things. One of the main things that can help you as a filmmaker, even if you don't have money, is just how you use light, how you paint a frame with light. You know, for me, one of my favorite lighting techniques that I learned when I was in film school is the chiaroscuro lighting technique. This was taken from some of the paintings. I can't really quote the days, but it comes from these paintings. And the way that the light was done was people would have like a butterfly effect on their nose where the light was pointed from the top. This creates something that's cinematic in the sense of how just the light is shaped around the subject, which is what I'm using right now. I have a light on top of me, which is something that we are so used to seeing in real life, because a lot of times, whether in your house, whether in a building, light tends to come from the top pointing down. But as filmmakers, we hate this because light spreads. So the way house lights, the way a lot of these things are set up is the light spreads throughout the whole house. It bounces everywhere. We have no control over the light. So just to shoot with any random light, it sucks. So what you mainly need a lot of times to get that type of look is a C-stand. You get the light, you put a skirt on it, and then you control how the light goes down onto your subject. So in this video, like, I'm not going to give you technical breakdowns of lighting. I'm just going to give you different ideas and things to think about when it comes to lighting. If you watch most of my videos on this channel, I tended to use light coming in a direction. So usually what that looks like is you have a light stand and then you put a light on it and it's just pointing at you. So I'll show you. So for example, when you have a light like this, where it's just on a stand and it's pointing at one direction. So it's usually how people do it is either the light comes from this side or it comes from this side or it comes from top of your camera, which most people do with the ring light, right? So you have your light pointing at you from there. That works because for us, what we're trying to do in those instances is just to see, it's just to make sure that the camera sees something, right? And that's satisfactory. And I think for a lot of people who are not in film business, that's enough. You don't need much. I think it works, it's functional, it does the job. But a lot of times when you're watching that, what happens is you don't have control of what the light is doing on the skin. So there are things that you start to look at and you're like, this doesn't look quite professional. It doesn't, because usually you're using a hard light and that's so harsh and it's just hitting the person in the front. So when you watch a lot of YouTube videos, they tend to look this way. So people buy lights because, one, when you're using house lights, they tend to flicker, and when people don't want to do that and they put a little bit of money, you get those lights and you're doing that type of lighting. There are many ways that you can actually fix that. You don't need new fixtures when you have that sort of light. What you want to think about is take that light, put it at a 45-degree angle this way, take your camera, put it at a 45-degree angle on the other side. So what you then have is you're shooting at your shadow side and you have this light hitting you here, which then creates a little bit of depth. So what you're essentially going for, right, is you're trying to create this depth. You're trying to create a 3D image out of a 2D space. And once you start doing things like that, playing with shadows and lights, you start doing some work, you know, some beautiful work. So you don't necessarily need to buy new lights. You can play with the lights that you have. One of the challenges that we all face is we never have enough money, enough equipment, enough this to create that perfect image. But one thing that I've learned, which I learned even when I was in school, was you can maximize what you have, because people won't see. The only thing that people tend to see, the audience will ever see, is what your sensor captures, right? So you can essentially have a $2 light compete with those. Okay, fine. I don't know if you can compete with the Hollywood light, because I'm still working on that in terms of what's just the difference in terms of quality of light. Is it significant enough that the camera can see it? Like if you have an Ari panel versus if you have a Kevin panel, like can the camera really tell the difference? That much I don't know. The jury's still out. But the main thing that I know is us as audiences, when we are watching, we are not really thinking about what type of lighting that they used. We are just trusting the imagery that we are seeing, right? So does it look good or not? And then other than that, my favorite form of lighting, like I said in the beginning, is the chiaroscuro, where you put the light on top, because then it resembles real life. Another technique people love using is being backlit. So essentially, if I was to be backlit right now, which I can show you, so if I was being backlit, it would look something like this, whereby the light, my only light source, is coming from behind me, right? So right now the light source from behind me is the window, and I have a light outside, and if I was to open the blinds, then it will create this form of, I want to call it a silhouette. So it's a silhouette type of look. The light is coming from behind. My challenge with this look has always been, where do you place the light without having the source in frame? I'm still trying to figure out how you get silhouette without showing the source of the light in frame, which is something a lot of people use. But the other thing that with lighting, you always want to have fill light in your shadows. It just helps with your grading, which is this light that you can see on me. It's just here to the side, which helps with that 3-point lighting. So then it's like, I have the backlight, I have the fill light, and then I have my key, which I'll turn back on. So you can also do that. So if you have your ring light, you can put it behind you, and then you create that silhouette look. But I don't know why you would do that. Like because if you do put the ring light in the back of you, it will show, which you don't want to do. It just looks weird when you can see the source of the light in frame, but some people do it. Another technique that it doesn't cost you money when it comes to lights is just to use natural lighting. Like right now, if I was not to have any lights and just wanted to use the window, it's a possibility. If you were to use the window as your lighting setup, you can use it. It's just about how you position yourself. So if I was sitting next to the window, then I'll be able to not only use that as my key, but I can also use it just to create that thing. But then it's all about framing in those situations. Another technique that most people use is bouncing light around. So like in here, I have almost white walls, so you can bounce light and then bounce it back to you. That helps you diffuse it if you don't have diffusions and stuff like that. That's a look that you can go for. Like there are different techniques, but the main key thing that I'll leave with you that you can take out of this video is, when it comes to light, you want to think about 3 main things. So you want to think about your lighting direction, you want to think about texture, and the intensity. So direction is essentially where the light is pointing, which is why I was like, you can do light pointing that way. And then texture, it just means what type of lighting are you going for? Tungsten? Are you going for daylight? How is the light looking? What's the mood? What's the tone? What's the thing that you're going for? What's the vibe? And then intensity. With intensity, now you're going with your camera. Like, what does your camera see? How do you want to be overexposed, high key, low key, stuff like that? And then once you have the tone that you want, so that's from texture, you then bring up your ambience, and you can lower things in post, right? Like fix it in post, baby. Yeah. But yeah, so those are some things that I would like you guys to think about when it comes to your lighting techniques in your next videos. And yeah, subscribe to the channel to get more tips in terms of your cinematography. And yeah, hit up or check out some of my other videos with helpful information. I'll see you in the next one.